Hi class, Assalamualaikum. So today we are from Group 7 are going to present about Fatwa on hospitality. So stay tuned. Our team members are Shalila, Ain and Shafika.
Before we go further into this presentation, this is a table of contents. We will start the presentation with the introductions, objective, and following by the subtopic. There are 5 total issues under the Islamic hospitality that we are going to present today. The first issue is mixing both men and women in the use of any facility such as gym or swimming pool. And the second issue is the Brazilian wax service at a spa. The third issue is non-halal certified hotel which serves pork in their kitchen. The fourth issue is wearing the Christmas outfit such as Santa to welcome guests at the hotel. And the last issue is the monument that looks like human or animals in the accommodation. The objectives for our presentation are: first, to study about the issues related to facilities, service, equipment, attire and design, and decoration in the hospitality industry. Second, to analyze the divine evidence and legal maxims of the issues related to the hospitality industry. And the last one is to find out the fatwa of the issues in the hospitality industry. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shafika binti Sorhaimi. I will start the presentation with the introduction. So what is hospitality? In general, the term hospitality refers to the warm welcoming of guests or visitors or the practice of honoring them with the very finest service that one can offer. On the other hand, Islamic hospitality generally means providing the visitors or the guests with the most respectful or courteous form of hospitality services. And there will always be a connection between the hospitality and tourism industry, because they both share a similar business background which provide services to the individual traveling. For instance, in Islamic tourism, it is not only limited to the provisions of halal food, but it also encompasses the hospitality services that adhere to the Islamic Sharia and regulation. And this includes airlines, hotels, resorts that do not serve any alcoholic beverages, but instead they provide the halal certified food, provide separate wellness facilities, prayer facilities, or any facilities or services given in a Muslim-friendly setting, such as spa or beauty salon and etc. Therefore, to understand the Islamic hospitality better, the difference between the concept hospitality service in Islam and the general standard service hospitality is that the idea or the notions of the Islamic hospitality must be based or required to be based upon the Sharia principles and teaching from both the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. But in comparison, the general standards of hospitality service that practiced by everyone today is not required to adhere to the Sharia ruling or teaching. So in this presentation, we will explore several concerns on the subject of Islamic hospitality that demand or require the explanation or further clarification from the Sharia from the Islamic perspective through the relevant fatwa ruling.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Aina Dila binti Azman, and I will explain the first issue in hospitality, which is under topic facility, and the name of issue is mixing both men and women in the use of swimming pool. So every hotel group definitely has this kind of facility as an added value to attract guests or tourists, such as a spa, gymnasium, a swimming pool, and so on. But however, the issue in this facility is the pool that are built in the hotel is only one that can cause the mixing of men and women regardless of Muslim or non-Muslim, which this matter can cause defamation because of the visible aurat that can damage the honors of a woman, especially Muslim. Islam does not prohibit a Muslim to doing any activities, including swimming, but must follow the condition that have been set in Sharia. The Prophet SAW once said in her hadith that it is forbidden to women to bath in the hammam, which is known as public bath. So as you can see in the slide, narrated from Jabir radhiyallahu anhu, the Prophet SAW once said in her hadith, which means, whoever believe in Allah and the last day, then let no man enter the public bathroom except by wearing a cloth. And whoever believe in Allah in the last day, then he should not allow his wife to enter the public bath. So, Based on the hadith above, the Prophet ﷺ forbade men to expose their aura when bathing in public bath, and also touched in the hadith is the prohibition for the woman to not enter the public bath, because although women may not bath there, but the men that take bath there, the men that take bath there can be seen. Although it is common knowledge that are already known by all Muslims especially, yet many of them ignore it and make that prohibition is a common thing because they want to have fun and enjoy the holiday. So what we can relate in this issue is having a shame is very important to every Muslim as a barrier for Muslim in committing sins. So if you guys do follow up media social today, it is full with the video clip of Muslim men and women who are bathed in a public pool showing their aura, which the video received 1,000 of likes that made them proud of their wrongdoing, and this can also cause slander against them. So there are legal maxims that related to this issue, namely ad-darura yuzal, which means harm is to be eliminated. We all know that all rulings that enacted by Allah either to guarantee benefits or to prevent harm, where it will result the achievement of the main objective, which is maqasid syariah. In this issue, swimming at the public pool, what is harmful is the exposure of aurah between men and women, which is clearly prohibited in Islam, which can have a harmful effect on the religion and also dignity. And these two elements is the important thing in maqasid syariah, and it is the obligation of every Muslim in maintaining the maqasid syariah. This legal maxim also choose in this issue because the mixing between men and women in a public pool can provide harm where make non-Muslim underestimate Islam. Therefore, in order to maintaining this maqasid syariah, namely religion and also decent, women need to bath in closed pool that are reserved specially for women only, as an effort to avoid any defamation toward them. So, based on the view of Mufti Federal Territory, they state that more importantly, look for suitable place in order to avoid the exposing of aura, and also the area of the swimming pool that are built for women should be covered with a height hall, as it was in a building, to avoid the view of others, because Islam has obligated every Muslim to cover their aura and always call out its followers to cover their aura when they are alone and away from the view of societies, so that the nature of self-decency become his personal and moral roots. So, in conclusion, to this issue, women should stay away from bath in public pool because it will give bad image to themselves, not only to themselves but also to Islam itself. And in addressing this issue, hotel management that may offer the same facility may use other alternatives, such as build a pool specifically for women only that are protected from the view of men, and also, or they can also offer different operating hours to men and women in the use of facility as one of the efforts in maintaining the maqasid syariah. And indirectly through this alternative, the view of non-Muslim toward Islam may be positive, that they realize Islam is a religion that value religion and also protect the honors of women.
Hi and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shafika binti Sorhaimi, and I will continue the issue number 2, which is the service of Brazilian wax at the spa. In past few years, the Brazilian wax service, or also known as Brazilian or Brazilian, has been recognized as a cosmetic treatment that involves the complete removal of hairs that grow in the pubic or genital area for women through waxing. And it is being promoted mainly through beauty salons, websites, popular magazines, as a way for women to increase their attractiveness and sexuality. And today, the practice of this service is not only limited to women, but now more and more men are interested in the hair removal. Therefore, the practice of Brazilian wax service for male in particular has been performed and conducted in many salons nowadays. And besides, the practice of Brazilian wax service has also been widely known among Malaysians beyond ethnic and religion boundaries, especially for the bride and groom before they get married. Moving on to the divine evidence, there are several concerns that occur when employees perform the practice of Brazilian wax service at the spa to remove the customer's pubic hair, which raises two concerns or two issues. First, the issue of nakedness or aurah by revealing the intimate parts or the private parts of the body to remove the pubic hair among similar and different gender. And second, the issue of khalwa or the concerns of khalwa, the conditions of being alone with the opposite gender in the case of male personnel performing the Brazilian wax on the female customer or otherwise. Hence, we provide divine evidence to further clarify the ruling on those concerned. For the first divine evidence for this issue comes from the Quranic evidence in Surah An-Nur verse 30 that says, O Prophet, tell the believing men to lower their gaze, guard their chastity, that is pure for them. Indeed, Allah is all aware of what they do. So according to Tafsir Ibn Kathir, the previous ayat before this ayat was revealed, Allah SWT instruct them to restrain their hand, lower their gaze, and protect their private parts because looking can provoke the heart to evil. So Allah SWT command them to protect their private part as just as He commanded them to preserve their gaze. Therefore, in this ayat, Allah SWT command the believing men to protect their private parts because protecting their private parts can prevent them from committing the zina. Likewise, the ruling of protecting the private parts of human body is also applicable to the woman, as stated in the earlier ayat of 31 Surah An-Nur that says, and tell the believing women to lower their gaze and guard their chastity. The second divine evidence for this issue comes from the prophetic evidence in Sahih Muslim. In the case of the Brazilian wax service is performed by the similar gender between personnel and the customer. Divine evidence has explained the aurah ruling between man and woman and woman, and it is haram for a man to look at another man's aurah, and this is consistent with the prohibitions of the Prophet Muhammad SAW in a hadith narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, in which Rasulullah SAW said a man should not see the private parts of another man, and the same applies to a woman's aurah with other women, which is said to be between the navel and knees by jurists. And the restrictions or the prohibitions against a woman looking at another woman's aurah is also comes from the similar hadith that I have mentioned earlier, which the Prophet Muhammad SAW said a woman should not see the private parts of another woman. Apart from the aurah ruling, another prophetic divine evidence emphasizes the ruling on the conditions of being alone with the opposite gender, or it is known as khalwa in the case of a different gender of employee or personnel performing the service of Brazilian wax on the opposite gender of the customer. And the isolations of two people of two opposite gender is one of the factors that need to be considered in this service. And according to a hadith narrated by Ibn Abbas, in that case, Islam forbid the situation, as the Prophet Muhammad SAW said, no man should be alone with a woman except when there is a mahram with her. Moving on to the fatwa. For this issue, there are 4 fatwa in total. And first, according to Mufti Wilayah, the Brazilian wax service is prohibited and not encouraged for Muslims to engage in either as a personnel or as a staff, and also as a customer. And the prohibitions of this service is made based on the 2 concrete factors that scholars believe can cause substantial damage to the dignity of those who directly participating in this service, either during the process itself or the future consequences. And the rationale behind the provisions of this service is first to protect Muslims' awrat or nakedness from being exposed unnecessarily, and second to preserve ourselves or to protect ourselves from being involved in any danger, harm or risk associated as a result of the Khalwah Act. The second fatwa for this issue comes from Mufti Muhammad Kadwa, and his judgment is based on the perspective of Hanafi jurisprudence law. He said that it is permissible for women to remove any unwanted hair from their parts of the body that do not fall under the category of intimate parts or satar area, such as our arms, calves, or face. However, the thighs or the bikini area or any other area that fall within the intimate parts or the satar parts are not permitted to ask for another woman to remove such hair, and she should do it herself instead. The third fatwa for this issue is from Sheikh Shu'aib Ali, and his judgment is based on the perspective of Shafi'i jurisprudence law. In contrast to others, he elaborated his judgment on this issue in a response based on 2 main questions. The first question is hair removal permissible? He responded that it is permissible for a woman to undergo any kind of hair removal as long as it does not cause harm to their body. And second question, is it permissible to have someone else perform this procedure? He said that apart from medically necessary procedure, no one is allowed to touch or see our private parts that we are required to cover in front of everyone. And as we already know, a bikini wax is not a medically necessary procedure. Therefore, it is not allowed for anyone other than oneself or one's spouse to perform a bikini wax to another person. Sheikh Shoaib Ali further stated that the prohibitions or the restrictions of revealing aura in front of others comes from two divine prophetic evidence. First, in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, Rasulullah SAW said modesty is part of faith. And second, in Sahih Muslim, Rasulullah SAW said a man should not look at another man's private parts and a woman should not look at another woman's private parts. The last fatwa for this issue is from Sheikh Kifah Mustafa, and he said that in terms of the general act of waxing, yes, it is permissible for a woman to get waxed by another woman. However, there are differing opinions or views regarding on what parts of their body can be revealed to another woman. And he leans toward the opinion that the aura ruling between woman and woman is between the knees and belly. But for medical purpose only, that area is permitted to be exposed to protect the person's well-being. Therefore, removing the pubic hair or genital hair for medical purpose or medical reason, it is permissible in our religion. However, if it is merely for beautification or cosmetic treatment, then it is not allowed for a woman to ask another woman to do it for her. Moving on to the legal maxim, the issue of the Brazilian wax service performed at the spa has consequences that affect the fundamental aspects of human life in their religion, progeny, and dignity. As Muslim, we are obliged to covering our private parts because it represents our dignity as human being. And if we expose our private part without necessity, it is considered forbidden in the Islamic religion, as the Quran commends the covering of male and female genital. Therefore, disobeying the command of covering the private parts is considered a sort of door, or it also known as munkar or wrongdoings in the Islamic religion. Following that, halwa, or the conditions of being alone with the opposite gender during the procedure of Brazilian wax service, is also prohibited in the Islamic religion. This is to protect Muslims from being involved in any form of harm that may occur when both genders are in one confined space or room. For that reason, I personally believe it is very suitable to apply the legal maxim of ad-daruri yuzal, which means the harm is to be eliminated on this issue, because its application in Islamic jurisprudence will result in the achievement of maqasid sharia, which is to prevent any form of harm that may affect Muslims in one of their essential aspects in their life. To summarize the issues of the Brazilian wax service that has been offered at the hotel spa or in any other places, all fatwa that have been issued agree and state that Muslims are prohibited from engaging in this service, whether as a personnel or staff who conduct and perform the service, or as a customer who requests or asks the service to be performed on them. And the prohibitions or restrictions of Muslims to engage and to conduct this service is based on two main implications that I have mentioned earlier, which is the issues of nakedness and the issue of halwa, which means the conditions of being alone with the opposite gender. However, if a Muslim has to undergo this service for medical purposes, then Islam consider the service to be conducted to protect every Muslim's wellness. So here is where Sharia allows every ruling that previously forbidden to become lawful in exceptional cases to fulfill or to preserve the essential needs of human life.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Shamila binti Hassan, and now I am going to present about the third issue, which is the hukum of using utensils or equipments that has been served pork before. So let's find out about the fatwa on this issue. Malaysia is a multicultural country. Therefore, there are many races, cultures, and religions that live in Malaysia. Some places are visited by both Muslim and non-Muslim at the same time. We all know that in Malaysia, not all hotels are halal certified. Therefore, it is not impossible for the hotel to serve pork or wine to the non-Muslims. Therefore, these matters lead to this issue, whether it is permissible to use the same utensils and equipments that is used to serve pork before to serve and prepare halal food for Muslims. So, what is the real status of this matter? What is the legal ruling for this matter? Let's find out in the next slide. Before we go further, let's take a look about this evidence, which is Surah Al-An'am from verse 145. In this surah, Allah has stated that it is forbidden to eat running blood, carrion, and swine. Allah has stated that swine is impure, and that's why we cannot eat it. Below, we can see the hadith from Prophet Muhammad SAW, which stated that if the dog lick a container, then the container must be washed with 7 times water, and one of them must be mixed with soil. And according to Mazhab Shafi'i, dog is qiyas with pig, because Allah has stated in Al-An'am that pig is very impure and we cannot eat pig. So, Mazhab Shafi'i has qiyas the dog to swine, as swine is much worse than the dog. Now, let's move on to the status of pork. As we know that pork is under Mu'alazah Najis category, and there are only 2 that is under Mu'alazah category, which are dog and swine. If you get into contact with dog or pig, you have to purify it with ritual cleansing, which is also called as sirtu. The question is how to purify with ritual cleansing. In this situation, if you get in touch with the dog or pork, or if the dog or pork touch your clothes, touch your scarf, then you need to purify it by washing the area affected with 7 times of water, and one of them must be mixed with soil. Now I am going to explain about the fatwa from Mufti of Federal Territory Malaysia. According to the Mufti, it is stated that from Mazhab Shafi'i opinion, we are required and it is obligatory to perform ritual cleansing for the equipments and utensils that has been used to serve pork before. However, as for ruling for equipments and utensils that are assumed to be used to serve pork before, then it is permissible to use the equipments and utensils without performing ritual cleansing on it. This is based from hadith by Abu Talaba from Riwayat Bukhari, which state, wash them and eat in them. Washing the equipments and utensils that has been used to serve pork before is a sunnah. Maybe it is because the container has been contaminated by non-Muslims, because they might use the container to cook pork, to eat pork, to drink wine, and so on. Now let's go to the fatwa from MUIS, which is Majlis Ugama Islam Singapore. The fatwa from MUIS is quite same as fatwa from Malaysia, which stated that according to Mazhab Shafi'i, it is required to wash the utensils and equipments that has been used to serve pork with ritual cleansing. However, according to other Mazhab's opinion, including Mazhab Hanbali, it is not required to perform ritual cleansing for any utensils or equipments that has been direct contact with the pork. For the legal maxim on this issue, I found out that al-yakinu la yuzalu bishak is the more suitable legal maxim that can be applied for this issue. This legal maxim means that certainty is not overcome by doubt. In this issue, the customers don't know whether the hotel serves pork or not. They just assume it because they see non-Muslim eating at the same hotel restaurant, so that's why they might have the assumption. But in the reality, in fact, they don't know whether the hotel serves pork or not. Therefore, any hesitations or doubts will never overrule the original certainty, because sometimes hesitation or doubts are not true at all. It's just our assumption. It comes from our mind, from our heart, but they haven't seen the fact about it. Now I am going to summarize the fatwa from this issue. For the kitchen crew, if they are certain that the equipments and utensils are being used to serve pork, then it is obligatory to perform the ritual cleansing on the utensils and equipments because they are certain about that matter. However, if the kitchen crew is uncertain whether the utensils, the equipments are being used to serve pork, then it is permissible to use the equipments and the utensils without performing ritual cleansing because he is not sure about the issue, but he needs to wash the equipments and utensils. For the customer, if they are certain that the utensils or equipments are being used to serve and cook pork, then they cannot eat at the hotel anymore because it is sinful to do so. They already know, but they want to eat at the hotel. That is unacceptable. For the customers that are uncertain or having hesitation whether the utensils or equipments has been used to serve pork before, then it is permissible for them to eat at the restaurant because they are only assuming and they don't even know, so it is permissible. The best way is to avoid any shubha as possible because by avoiding shubha, that means we care about our religion.
Next issue in hospitality is accessories or attire, namely wearing a Christmas outfit to welcome guests at the hotel. So for the introduction, as you guys know that Malaysia is known as a multi-religious and multi-ethnic country, such as Malay are Muslim, Chinese are Buddhists, Indians are Hindus, and Malaysia also have a large number of Christian community. Religious and ethnic diversity in Malaysia creates various practices in an effort to foster unity between races and religion, such as holding open house, exchange greeting and give, wearing clothes of other religion, and so on. However, nowadays there is an issue that the Muslim community in Malaysia who celebrate other religious festival which seem similar to that religion. Many people in Malaysia are Muslim, but their style, their appearance, their behavior are follow the style of Western culture. And from the hospitality aspect, there are some hotel management who wear religious outfit, religious clothes, such as wearing Christmas outfit, put Christmas tree at the lobby, the present of Christmas song, and put all the decoration related to the celebration during Christmas in order to welcome guests at the hotel. Turning to this issue, Muslims were originally not allowed to copy the practices of other religion, for which this situation is termed as al-tashabuh, and this situation is already considered a normal thing for Muslim in Malaysia. Tashabuh is an attempt by a person to imitate a figure he admires, both from behavior, appearance to his attribute, and applied in daily life. And according to Al-Munawi, the concept of tashabuh is defined as they adorn, behaving with their moral, walking as they walk, resembling them in dress and part of their deeds. Islam forbids its followers to follow, to imitate, and resemble a certain race or group, especially the Jews and Christians. This is based on the hadith narrated by Ibn Umar that Rasulullah SAW once said in hadith, which means whoever resembles one race, then he belongs among them. And in other narration, the Prophet SAW said that, which means not from among us are people who resemble other than us. Do not be like Jews and the Christian. The above hadith explain that it is haram to imitate them and outwardly indicates that the act is an act of disbelief. It also explains that who resemble or imitate the weak person in the matters that are specified by them, then he will be part of them, even if he does not express it openly, and even if he does not engender a sense of love. And the prohibition of the Prophet on the al-tashabuh is further strengthened by the prohibition of Allah in the Quran, and he says that, as you can see in the slide, which means that O believer, take neither Jews nor Christian as guardian. They are guardian of each other. Whoever does so will be counted as one of them. Surely Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people. The religious celebration of non-Muslim are the greatness of their religion, and Muslims are urged not to imitate the greatness and culture of non-Muslim, because the reason for the prohibition is the concept of similarity, which is tashabuh. So basically, there are several methods of faith that have been outlined in knowing the law in this issue, and among of the method are al-umur bimaqasidiha, which mean matters are determined by intention. This method means that any act of human being must come from his will and intention, and any act is not counted as al-tashabuh as long as it is not accompanied by intention, because al-tashabuh occurs when the perpetrator of the act aims to resemble the party he wants to imitate. Moreover, whatever is practiced by non-Muslim, which consists of act of worship, which can have the implication of being kafir, weak, or in the form of immorality, if done with intention, should not be demonstrated by a Muslim, even if he does not intend it as a precautionary measure. It means that any action or dress that resemble non-Muslims outwardly, whether in the form of worship or custom specific to them, is then prohibited, even if it does not involve any intention to resemble the weak person, and if done with intention will give negative implication and can cause a person's faith to slip due to his pleasure. The next legal maxim regarding this issue is al-i'ana alal fa'alul zalim min fa'alul haram, which means helping an unjust act is an unlawful act. So this method refers to everything that are performed by Muslim in the form of an imitation of a non-Muslim. So it is not appropriate to give any support to it, because every action of a Muslim which is a real al-tashabuh or which appear outwardly is categorized as an unlawful act, and also prohibited any form of support or help to the act, because any help to the other religions signify pleasure in it, while pleasure in an action of other religions as if performing the act itself, which is illegal. And also include in this case is favor for any act that can lead to the act of tashabuh itself. This method is based on Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 2, as you can see in the slide, which means cooperate with one another in goodness is righteousness, and do not cooperate in sin and transgression, and be mindful of Allah. Surely Allah is severe in punishment. These words state the basic principle in the teachings of Islam, which is to encourage each other in matters of goodness and not to compromise with vice and sins. On this issue, the Muzakarah Jawatankuasa Fatwa Majlis Kebangsaan Hal Ehwal Agama Islam Malaysia, which convenes on 12 April 2005, discussed these matters and issue guideline for Muslims to celebrate non-Muslim religious day and has decided on several matters. Things are not accompanied by act contrary to Sharia that can cause contamination of the faiths of Muslims, such as including religious symbol like a cross symbol, Christmas tree, singing religious song, giving speech or gesture in the form of praise to non-Muslim religion, placing any religious mark on the forehead, wearing red clothes like Santa Claus or other clothing that symbolize religion, and so on. Apart from that, the 29 Perlis Fatwa Committee meeting on 2017 also convenes on 18 to 19 April 2017, which discussed about this matter. And according to fatwa from the state of Perlis, doing good to non-Muslim by Muslim is something that is demand as long as the effort to do good is not contrary to the faith. And according to the fatwa from the state as well, attending or performing any ceremony of non-Muslim religious festival is not allowed because it is related to the practices of non-Muslim religious ritual or tashabuh, which is prohibited in Islam. Next, according to a fatwa from the Mufti of Federal Territory, wearing a Santa Claus or placing a Christmas tree and other ornament is not allowed if there is no need, because it is a symbol synonymous with the celebration of Christmas Day. Ideally, Muslims should refrain themselves from wearing it because the wearing of the ornament of non-Muslim seems to show recognition of the festival. For the conclusion, Islamic law has outlined clear rules as guideline for Muslims in their daily life. And according to the fatwa issued, many of the mufti unanimously banned non-Muslim religious celebration. And according to this issue, it is not appropriate for hotel management, especially hotels that are set by Muslim itself, to wear clothes or decorate their hotel with Christmas decoration as if to show recognition of the festival in order to attract their customer or their guests, because Islam forbids its followers to resemble non-Muslim on matters specific to them, either in the religious aspect or in their customary practices, and every act performed by Muslim in the form of imitation against them or which leads to such act of imitation, then it is not appropriate to be give help or support.
Now I am going to explain about the issue 5, which is the fatwa of using the statue or sculpture that looks like human or animals as a decoration at the accommodation, whether it is house or hotels. Statue means something representing human or animals that is made from hard material such as metal or wood. In overseas countries such as United States, United Kingdom, statue is common at their hotel. But in Malaysia, not all hotels have the statue, but some of them has the statue as a decoration at the hotel. It is important to know whether statue is permissible to use as a decoration at a hotel because Malaysia is an officially Islamic country. Before we go further, let's take a look at the evidence. So this is the hadith narrated by Abi Talha, which stated that angels of mercy will not come into the house that has picture of animals or humans, or in other way, a picture of living creatures. Imam Nawawi's opinion stated that according to scholars, the reason why angels of mercy do not enter someone's house is because there is the picture of living creatures such as humans or animals. This act is forbidden because it resembles Allah's creation, and some people put the picture in their house in act of worshipping the pictures. According to Al-Mubarak Furi's opinion, he stated that the phrase of Suratul Tamathil in the hadith refers to the images that is in shape of humans or animals such as statue, sculpture. Another narration of hadith, Rasulullah SAW has advised that do not leave a picture without obliterating it. Imam An-Nawawi said that the hadith above is about changing the form of the statue that resembles the living creatures. Therefore, some scholars might think that it is okay to have the statue as long as the statue is not complete. For example, if a statue of a cat, then it doesn't have the cat's hair. According to a hadith narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha, she stated that one time she was playing with the dolls with her friends at a place. Then Rasulullah SAW entered the place, and then the girlfriends hide from the Rasulullah, but Rasulullah calls them and then joined them playing with the dolls. According to Al-Hafiz Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, the scholar stated that it is permissible for the toy to be played. It is permissible to keep the toys such as Barbie dolls for the kids because it only serves as a purpose to play, not for worship. Now let's move to the arguments of fatwa. So this is the fatwa from Mufti of Federal Territory of Malaysia. According to the Mufti, the meaning of the sculpture or statue needs to be investigated more. Whether if the statue is about the Korean idol and it is being used to worship, then it is clearly prohibited. But some scholars say that it is permissible to have statue or sculpture as long as it is incomplete. As for children's toy, most scholars stated that it is permissible to keep it in the house, although it imitates the Allah's creation, but it serves only as a toy. However, the toy cannot be big and it must be considered as only a toy. According to the fatwa, Mufti advised that it is better to avoid this so that it will prevent us from having a feeling of worshipping the sculpture. According to the fatwa Darul Ifta Al-Misriyah, it is stated that it is prohibited to keep the statue or sculptures. However, if it is incomplete, then it is permissible. It also stated that as for children's toy, then it is permissible. According to one of the scholars and the Maliki scholars, he stated that it is permitted to have a statue that is made from candy or turf. But some scholars stated that it is prohibited to have the statue to imitate the Allah's creation, but this is the weak opinion. Now we go to the legal maxim, which is Al-Khuruj min al-Khilafi mustahab. Avoiding khilaf is encouraged. According to Dr. Salim, the word khilaf means the disagreement among the mazhab. The past companions always give their best to avoid khilaf by handling the situation with full ethics. In this issue, there are many khilaf. Some scholars say it is permissible to have statue, some scholars say it is prohibited to have statue, but all of them has their own reason for the views. For as a Muslim, we have to avoid any doubtful matters, any khilaf, because we don't know the truth behind that. Best thing is to living what Allah don't like, because we already have Allah, so He is the only one that we have to worship. We don't need to have other things, we don't need to have obsession for the other things, because it will affect our feelings toward the feelings of Allah. Now I want to summarize the fatwa. So, the meaning of sculpture itself needs to be considered, whether it is to be worshipped, whether it is to be decorated, whether the statue is complete, whether the statue is incomplete. However, there is exemption for toys because the toys serve as a plaything for the children. According to Darul Ifta Al-Misriyah, if the statue is incomplete, then it is permissible to use it as a decoration in the house. As for conclusion, it is encouraged for us not to have any statue in our house or any hotel because it will prevent the angels of mercy from entering our accommodation. The angel of mercy is the angel that always seek forgiveness and blessing from Allah for us. Therefore, it is advised for the hotel not to have any statue or sculpture of animals or humans inside the hotel. If they still want to have the statue, then maybe it is better to put it outside. And it must be in incomplete form.
In conclusion, regarding to the current concerns and issues in the Islamic hospitality industry that have been raised, we found out that it is not easy to shift from the general hospitality service to the Islamic hospitality service, since not everyone, including managers, organizations, tourism industry players, or any other parties that genuinely understand the concept of Islamic hospitality, that everything must adhere to the Islamic law and regulation from a minor aspect to the broadest, and this is due to their lack of knowledge and awareness in understanding and embracing the halal concept in the Islamic hospitality. Therefore, by expanding the understanding of halal awareness, which is considered to be one of the prerequisites in the Islamic hospitality, through any medium that are able to reach the public, such as campaign, could contribute to the future development of the Islamic hospitality industry. Furthermore, it is important for us to understand the concept of Islamic hospitality incorporates the concept of rububiyah, which emphasizes Allah SWT as a ruler who make the rule and provide the guidance to fulfill and to guide the needs of living beings for the sake of happiness in this world and the hereafter. Only Allah SWT alone, the creatures of this universe, understand the needs of His creatures and His servant. Therefore, all the divine law, all the ruling, the system that emerge from the revelation is not for our burdensome, but it is for our preservation, our justice, and the well-being of us to live in this life. And lastly, Islamic hospitality must be consistent with the goal of Maqasid Sharia in preserving the essential aspects of Muslims to live in this world.